Hello everyone, Eyal here. Mic was muted. Here you go. So hey everyone, Eyal here. I look a bit pink today, I guess because of the light outside or something. So hopefully, yeah, you hear my audio okay. Hopefully the amazing AI generated music is okay. And here's what I'm doing today. So today I will be adding features and fixing a few bugs in our arpeggiator plugin, EON-Arp by Modalics. I was talking to Or Lubjaniker, my well-known partner earlier, and we made like a little list that he made me of things that I would have to do. Most of those are relatively self-contained. Some of them are interesting issues actually, so hopefully you will learn a little bit. Hopefully also this session will be less abstract than usually some of my stuff, like it's not some framework or language. Like this is an actual plugin, it runs, it plays music, hopefully. I know many people like this plugin. So yeah, so what I'm going just to do here, I'm just gonna copy paste a task list. So you're going to take a look at my task list. How can I do that in a way that will look nice on screen? Can I make this like a standalone thing? I'll just put a VS Code window, I guess. Okay, so I'll just type it in. Let's open my screen. And these are generally my, can I do this, by the way? Or maybe this. Okay, let's start with that for now. Yeah, so these are my list of tasks for today. Oop, I guess, okay. So some of them I kind of half did, but I didn't finish them. So this is gonna be, fun. I want to say hi to David Frick. Sweet, looking forward to it. Awesome. I will be showing EON-Arp in a second, and hopefully this will give some context. But let me just quickly explain. I will go over each of those bugs or features when I start to solve them. So first one is MIDI bypass. This one is fun and interesting. The idea is that when EON is used to control MIDI, like to control another synthesizer, some people wanted to do a bypass, and bypass on MIDI is actually less trivial than you think, because let's say we have an arpeggiator. You hit, you play a few notes on your keys, it sends out a bunch of notes. That when you bypass that, what you might want is you want your original notes back, right? Which is kind of interesting when you think about it, because it means like sending note offs, note ons, like there's some state managing. And I kind of did that, but honestly, my solution was not well tested, so it's very likely that it's buggy. This one is going to be a fun and challenging. This thing is mono compatibility. Like some people who try to use EON and host like Pro Tools specifically, they said that there is some problem there, because I think we're kind of assuming people would use it in stereo, but that's not the case with MIDI. Some people like to control like a mono synth, I guess. Okay, so this one is going to be another fun one. So this is people asked to have an option to toggle DAW sync. It's a feature people asked us to do in a few plugins. I'm going to be implementing that. Trigger motion. This is probably going to be the most difficult bug I need to do. So this one means that I need to there's some mechanism in EON that kind of decides which chord it is. And I think this could be improved, or maybe we'll decide that we'll need a few modes. And it's about how do you detect what chord the user wants, because there's all these, you'll see, we're going to debug those pretty extensively. There's issues where you're lifting your finger off a chord because you're just about to switch to a new chord. So there's some detection mechanism there that we will be improving. This says fixed notes for pattern changes. So in EON-Arp, there's like fixed notes, like I think it's like C0, C1 that tell you what the notes for the pattern name are. And I think it will be cool to make it more flexible, so you can MIDI map those or turn them off or something. So we're going to have to think about this feature together, hopefully. And additional basic presets with velocity and length. So this is just something Orr and I talked about. Or will probably make those, I think. But I think this is what we wanted was we realized a lot of people don't realize that you can do a lot in Eon just in terms of expression, even in a basic like ARP pattern. And I think we want to have new presets that will show that feature. Cool. So I got some things to do. Hopefully we can finish all of those today. Hopefully this is not my task. Can I underline here? No, not really. So I can put this aside because this is Orr's task. Orr, right? So yeah. So hopefully this will be a fun coding session. Hopefully no weird bugs and stuff like that would happen. Okay, so EON-Arp. It's been a little while since I opened the EON-Arp code. Let's go back to this thing, get my screen. It's been a little while, so it would be a good time to first of all debug it or build it first. Let's see if it's actually builds. EON-Arp, EON-Arp MIDI, EON-Arp standalone. Let's start with EON-Arp standalone. So many different variations of this plugin. And while I'm at it, let me go and bring my MIDI keyboard. So yeah, I'm using this fun thing. You see, this is like my debugging keyboard. It's a relatively cheap Korg MIDI controller. And we will use that. Usually I'm in my house, but now I'm somewhere else. I'm in Los Angeles, so I am with my portable gear. By the way, look at this interesting warning. That has to do with something I worked on that was not properly tested. And now my microphone was on the keyboard. Okay, I usually like warning-free code, so I will. All kinds of sounds we're playing. Yeah. So first of all, Eon builds, which is good. There's some logs that are happening. I think I need to turn those off. I think those because it was from the time I started to work on the on MIDI bypass, and so we can probably start by reviewing what it is that I did. Where can I connect this? Where do I have an open connection? Oh, probably here. Okay, got my MIDI keyboard connected. It's gonna be here. Lay down. I'm gonna play some amazing music with it later. How's everyone doing today? As always, I'm streaming this on many different platforms, so feel free to let me know in the chat if there's something you want to know, if there's something I'm not explaining as clearly. Let's see if I can make this even a bit bigger. Yeah, let's make this bigger. I don't know why I went to this size. Maybe 120%? Let's try that. Okay, it's a little too big to read, but maybe it will make it easier for people to just follow along with the stream. It might be a little too big for me, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so let's take a look at EON-Arp. Yeah, let's take a look at EON-Arp first, and so we can. You know what? Maybe before I'll take a look at EON-Arp, I will fix the annoying warning, which has nothing to do with the actual plugin. It's something in the library that I just added, probably during one of the previous streams. But I don't like to have warnings. I feel like warnings I like that warnings will draw my attention into problems in my code. So I don't like the idea that I will have unrelated warnings, kind of masking the real warnings that I might have. I like to build with a high warning level, and I like to fix those warnings as fast as I can. This one's probably going to be some casting issue from like a type, from int to size D or something. Oh, by the way, just so you know, in about 2 hours, maybe a bit after, I will have an amazing guest here. I will have Paul Carter from Wave Sequencer. He makes... he's a genius, programmer and designer. He makes a modular synthesizer called Hyperion. It's amazing. He's going to show that to me or to us, and we can discuss, some of the, what he's going through. It's a very complex architecture, what he's doing with this modular, and I'm fascinated to see what this is going to come up, what it's going to bring. Yeah. So let's see. Probably this is like a size D or something, or this takes a size D. Yeah, I think this is really the warning, right? It's like what was this warning? Implicit conversion, right? So this needs to be like a size D. There's another one here. So this returns size T, and I need to convert it into an int. Simple issues, but just important because those are completely unrelated to EON. Those are just stuff that are building as a part of our shared library. So let's just say TCP fixed warnings. Great. Now let's go back to EON-Arp. Okay. So let's run EON-Arp and see if we can make some sense of what we're seeing. Ooh, it's playing some music now, playing a lot of crazy music. Can I what's going on here? Why is it playing like okay, stop that sound. Relax. Okay, good. So I got EON-Arp here on screen. Let's see if we can clear it. It's possible, by the way, this build is broken, so we're gonna see pretty soon if it is broken or not. Oh, this is on play mode. So let's just start with an init, some init preset. See if this is gonna play. I'm hoping. Let's see if I can play this through my through the sound card. I'm hoping this won't create problems when I'm debugging, but I will try to play a few sounds. Let's see if we can do that. So I can just go to the settings here. Outputs. Let's send it to Babyface Pro. Maybe a smaller buffer or something, and nano key as the input. Okay. Let's play something. Oh, turn on the synth. Oop, this was loud. Let's make this softer for me and probably for you as well. Okay. Okay, so this is basically what EON does, right? So generally speaking, what EON does is that it takes the chord that feeds into it, and then you write a pattern, right? So now there's, let me just turn this off so that you'll hear what's happening. So I'm just playing, let me let's turn off the AI music for a second. There's now a MIDI file playing, right? This is just a MIDI file with a few chords. Let's do just these jazzy chords, right? And then when I turn on EON, it plays a pattern. Let's go to the other place on the synth, maybe. Just filter this a little bit. let's draw another pattern, right? I can draw all these. Let's clear this. Let's try drawing my own pattern. Let's have something with less steps, maybe. Let's have 8 steps and bloop, 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 bloop. So hey David, there's a question here. The question is, wait, is there a generic no key mode now? I don't remember seeing it when I first used the plugin. Yes, I think this has been there from the beginning. There's this mode. If you have an external input that will ask for the key. I know. Let me bring this to the screen. Yeah. So if you click, the default is external, where I'm just pressing a few notes on my keyboard and then it's gonna play. But for testing, you can also use, we have these built-in MIDI files, right? This would just play some MIDI file that from one of the presets. There's a bunch of different presets made by our good friend Omri Abramov. And then you can also load your own. I think you can do this and just load a MIDI file if you want that. So that's just, I wouldn't call, the MIDI input ways the most professional way to do things, but it's awesome for, testing and getting started. And there are definitely use cases for the file input. I'm using it a lot for debugging sometimes because my hands are on the keyboard. I can't, or they're on the computer keyboard, and not always I can reach to my, MIDI keyboard for, just to play notes. But yeah, that exists. So yeah, so let's just go back, just play something. And as we said, EON lets you do stuff like that. And then I can do stuff like, maybe I can make these notes shorter. Or maybe just make this one note long. Right? So it's a lot of fun to creating these, intricate manual patterns. You can make that, like polyrhythmic patterns, and it's a very creative tool, I find, to do things that other arpeggiators can do. You can change the velocity, right? You can just make this one note soft or loud, right? And which is not so useful with this one sound I'm using now, but it's very useful for piano patterns and stuff that needs more dynamics. So yeah, EON can do a lot of cool things. Later it can be used in a DAW, send MIDI out into your other plugins and all that. So let's see if we can explain this bypass mode. So I think bypass mode would also work here, although I'm not 100% sure. Let's see if would it also work for me in standalone? Oh yeah, it does work. No, it doesn't. Or it doesn't work as it should. It probably should work in here as well. I probably should be able to make this. Yeah. So the idea is that there should be a way to let's switch to a DAW. Let me have some setup here where I'll debug this in. Let's do it in Cubase. So I'm going to build EON-Arp VST3. And before I'll do that, let me make sure that I don't have a version installed from the installer, because that will collide with my development version. So I need to make sure that I'm developing what I think I'm developing. So I'll just erase that from my plugin lists. And then what I will do is I will set up CLion. Add configurations. I will have it launch Cubase. Let's do applications, blah, 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 blah. Where do I have applications here? Am I not seeing, blacking out? Here it is, applications, Cubase, and I need to take the actual Cubase executable. And that will make me attach. It will build the plugin, attach my debugger into Cubase so that I can see what it looks like from a DAW. Then we can maybe explain better what are we expecting to be doing here. And it's also possible that the version I've built is close to doing that. So maybe it won't be so much work. I think most of the logic is already in place, but there might be you know, let's call it weird edge cases with this. Okay. So it just loaded Cubase. I'm going to be loading, let's put this on screen. I'm just going to be calling something like EON bypass. Okay, so I got a Cubase project, and I can load. Ooh, what just happened here? Okay, hopefully everything's okay. So I'm back into Cubase. I'm going to load in. Oh, does it want me to do something here? What's getting these notifications? Oh, because of the multi-screen thing. Okay, so I'm just going to open. I'll open Serum. That will be a good start. This is Serum. Close Serum, and then I will have EON-Arp in addition. And in EON, what I'm going to do, here's the EON window. I will turn off the internal synth, and then I will have Serum take in MIDI from EON-Arp. And now, here we go. So now, hopefully this is not too loud. So now I have my EON pattern playing through the default Serum patch. Let's just for fun now. I'm already running into a bug that I want to solve today, hopefully. So. Okay, good. So this is basically the basic setup for what I was going to do. I wanted to have EON controlling Serum. I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this EON1 or something. Good. So let's explain what it is that we're going to do. So first of all, let's see if I'm attached. So yeah, you see I'm playing stuff and my log is printing the notes. This is what I was hoping for. We probably don't want to keep that log in the actual product, but it's good for these kind of tests. Okay. Let's just have. Okay, so this is how I'm using EON. I'm just now hitting chords on my MIDI keyboard, and here's what I want to what I was going to test. I need to see what happens when I click bypass. Bypass happens, for example, here. Oh, that's not bad. Okay, so it's very possible that what I have now is actually pretty good. So what I'm doing now is I'm holding this chord. Let's hold it in some octave up. I'm holding this chord, and I want to be like starting the pattern in and out. Oh, see? Oh, it's not bad. Maybe it's already working as it should. I've worked on this a few weeks ago, and I forgot that I did that. Let's see what happens if I have a bigger chord in there. I want to see there's no stuck notes, basically. Those look pretty good, honestly. You see, the idea is that when I'm leaving, when I'm going in bypass, you know, in regular audio, what we would just do is some hard cut into the input. But here in MIDI, because MIDI is like these discrete messages that basically do note on, note off, etc. What we're actually doing here is that whenever bypass happens, we have to re-trigger the original notes that are still playing. So, for example, let's say I'm still holding C, E, and G, C chord, C major chord. Then let's do exactly that. So I'm going to hold C, E, G, right? Now I'm bringing up the arpeggiator. want to do it slower because I'm suspecting there might still be a bug here. Let's do this really slow. Let's do some 50 or something. Okay, so I'm going to start with bypass. I think there might be a stuck note here. Let's do something. Let's remove some of these. Yes, here's my stuck note. Okay. This is going to be a fun bug to solve. So let's explain what's happening here. What's happening here is that whenever I switch to bypass, I need to make some decision on what to play to the host at that moment, right? Because because if, let's say, I have a C that's played, the note C, the arpeggio, or that's physically played on the keyboard, it does not mean necessarily that the arpeggio is going to play C, right? Just to give you some example, right? When I have this off, I'm just playing notes on my keyboard now, right? If I play the note C, it's going to go out to whatever. It's going to go out to the synth. But if I have the ARP on, right, and if I have this on and I play C, this is going to play C. What is? Oh, I'm in bypass. Sorry. Right. If I play C, it's going to play C, but in the timing that I chose. Right. Let's have C C. Right. If I press E, it's going to play my E, and that part is relatively easy because it's a C. Because even though I'm holding in a C, the C translate to a bunch of C's, right? But I might do this, right? So, and I'm just going to hold the one note C. Let's bypass, so you'll hear what I'm just holding the one note. And now I'm hold it with bypass on, right? So C will actually translate, and you'll see that when I'm pressing this, translates to low C and high C, right? If I'll have another octave here, right? This is going to switch octaves. And that means that if I'm as long as I'm still playing with ARP enabled, everything is fine because the ARP is the one controlling MIDI message going out and MIDI message that are stopping, right? So for example, if I press this and right, I'm going to stop, right? I just hit stop with my spacebar. Then the ARP knows what was sent from it, and then you just say, okay, well, stop these notes, which is relatively more straightforward. The problem with the bypass mode is we are looking for a way to kind of give the user back their notes, so that basically there's going to be new note ons generated. Like for example, I'm holding the C, the low C, right, which is just this one. This is just the low C is just the first one, and let's say while I'm on the high notes, I press bypass, and that means that the high notes will need to be closed, and there will be a retrigger of the slow note because that's what I'm physically holding, and that would eventually make it behave as if it's like audio bypass, right? Like similar to audio bypass. So, and this is basically what should happen, but I don't know if you noticed there was stuck notes happening there. So that's and they were kind of resolved by the pattern repeating. So they were very quickly resolved, but they were still there. That's why we need to, I guess, be more active in solving this. Let's see. Can I make this? Maybe let's make this. Yeah, very slow. Okay, and here we go. So what should happen is that when I get out of bypass, when I get back to the processing mode of the plugin, what you should be hearing, ideally, is immediately all the notes are stopped and the pattern continues to play. Okay, so now I'm in bypass, right? You hear the chord. I bring it out of bypass. Okay, so I don't know if you noticed, so there was like a couple of seconds there where my chord kept playing along with the pattern. That's not good. It should be either the pattern or my chord. So this is what we'll be fixing today. We'll kind of look at my implementation and see if we can make it better somehow. Okay, so let's see if we can make some advancements on this bug. And I think what I did was that I printed a log to see what's happening. Let's see exactly what happens here. It's been a while since I looked at this code, so it's going to be a good refresher. I might make this smaller because this is way too big of it for me to read. Let's do 110%. Hopefully this is okay for people who are viewing this. Okay, so my code is in here. It's in modules, EON-Arp audio. Though it's MIDI, we call it audio. So let's kind of review the chain until we get to this point. There you go. So this is the main processing function of EON-Arp. It calls a lot of processing function out there. So the real interesting things are happening later. This is my log. Yeah, so I have this logic that I added. I'm not sure if this logic is correct. It's possible that I need to simplify it. I think this was something I did while I was working. Oh wow, I now remember there's a bunch of things I did here to prevent a weird, another weird behavior. But I created this thing called, this is something that I created, min simple position. I think I created this to solve a bug with this particular process. Let's think about this. It's possible that I'll remove this and actually do this somewhere else. So eventually this calls process MIDI. Process MIDI is what really, this is the actual like EON-Arp process. And I think the logic behind this is meant to do the switching. Input switch, what's the input switch? Oh, it's like a switcher. Okay, so I made this thing that's like a switcher. What this does is it keeps some list of the notes. I have this thing called held notes, and I'm keeping a list of the pressed notes so that so there's something that says real-time bypass for MIDI is already above and beyond compared to other plugins. Appreciate all that you're putting into this. Oh, sure. I'm glad people are liking this. Hopefully you will enjoy the new things I'm going to be adding today. There's a few little performance helpers. I just thought that this would be yeah. So it says most plugins would just kill the MIDI and let it start back the next cycle. Yes, that's true. That's true. And you know what? I keep having the thought that maybe I should just do that just because it's simpler, but I don't know. I like the idea that there's some stateful thing there for the user. So I'm hoping that it would be cool, not just like a technical feature, but something that you can actually use. Like you can actually use this. Like if you have a synth and you start the pattern, get the pattern off. I thought it might be something you can use in your performances. I thought about this more a little like a guitar pedal. When you might be with the guitar, you might hold a big chord on the distortion, and then you turn off the distortion, but the clean still sustains, and it might actually be cool, like especially in effects like like a chorus or something. So I don't know. I like that. I like that it could do this, right? Yeah, like a glitch effects and that kind of thing. Exactly. Like so I was hoping to open up this possibility, right? So that this feature is cool, and we'll see if I can solve all the edge cases so that it's technically good enough and cool. So this is my challenge, I guess. So let's see exactly what I did, because I think I added quite a bit of logic for this, and it's actually possible that I would remove this logic. I'm trying to think of what happens here, because I think what I tried to do, I think that was my original idea. Let me think. I think my original idea was that I would use this like state holding for the bypass, but maybe I can do it some other way. So I'm gonna experiment with a way now that might fail pretty miserably, but I will try it anyway, just so that I will see, or maybe remind myself what were the limitations of that method. Let me explain. What I was so currently what I did was I had the actual bypass thing kind of external to the to the actual ARP processing. Like I made something external that kind of holds state and is not directly tied to the ARP processor, and then I did that. And I'm thinking that maybe what I should do instead is actually have that bypass be implemented in the ARP processor itself. And to test it, and it might not work, it might fail. I might revert back to this. So this is going to be an experimental state. You see, I have state, bypass, blah, blah. So what I'm really going to do is I'm going to remove all this horrible code that I did not like in the first place and just call the ARP processor directly. And this is going to basically remove my bypass functionality, but I might be able to implement this in here. So inside of this thing, there's a thing called a MIDI processor, and here you go, SysX filter, blah, blah, blah. It injects the function, but here there also should be our process. This is quite a complicated process function because this has a lot of ways to inject simple, accurate messages. This is something interesting. We'll talk about this at some point. Usually, I don't like to write that complicated functions, but sometimes it's just needed. I don't know if it's really needed in this case, but why does this give me a red? That makes no sense. Get. Here you go. That solved the red. Okay. I need to. Let's see. I want to see where the bypass part is happening. See if I remember exactly where it's happening. Maybe it's in process slot itself. At some point, maybe that's before, there should be a switch that says, basically checks if the, oh, there it is. Oh, chord process. Okay, so if, process the chords if it's active. And if it's not active, okay, this is probably the point where I'm, the moment where I'm interested in. So what this is there's I can actually show this to you in my in the standalone as well. Like it should work. I don't need a DAW to test this, and it'll be fun if I can make this feature work in standalone as well. So let's see. Here's EON. Okay. And I should be able to do and turn this off and get notes. And this does exactly what David said earlier. This does this thing about resetting on the next cycle. Like when I go to on, I get the pattern. When I switch to off, my notes, I'm still holding the notes. The notes are gone. And then I have to play them again to get the notes. This is actually, in a way, this is the simplest solution to this problem. So it's possible that if I can find a solution, I'll go for that just for now. So just for fun, let's implement the solution on the DAW level, and I'll. No, let's not implement on the DAW level. Let's start with this level, with the standalone level. Now let's see if we can. Let's see how this what happens inside of the ARP when it processes. So let's see how does it deal with the active update note. Update on node off. So, okay. So this gets called. And I think update on note off, this is the only thing I'm doing with active. That's the only way I'm let's see what this flag does. So if update on note off and it's note on, then set ARP. And probably otherwise, right? Let's have the ARP. Yeah, it's off now, right? Yeah, so this works if it's either update on note off. No, so this is not the correct one. I think there's somewhere else that clears the list of notes in the chord. Oh, it's not MIDI player active. It's something else. So I need, let's see, where am I storing, or where am I reading? Here it is active. That's what I need. Okay, this is the point where it's interesting. So is active looks at the parameter, the one I just set from the UI, and if it's active, it swaps the output with the otherwise. Otherwise, it just sends the output direct out. So I think this would be a point where I might be able to intervene and kind of inject the held notes. This is what I'm thinking. What does that mean? That means that yeah, so what I'm doing is that if it's not active, I'm basically just ignoring the ARP. It's still there. It's still running. I'm just not, and I think it's good that I'm still running it, because that means that it holds states, like it will go back to where it's supposed to be going. But I need to have this logic where we bring up the notes. Okay, let me think about this for a second. How's everyone doing, by the way? How's everyone doing in the chat? I see a lot of people joining on different networks, so feel free to say hi. I see people on Twitter. I see people on YouTube. I see people on Twitch. Feel free to let me know if you have questions about what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, what's the motivation. Actually, see what's up with Paul, who would might want to join me pretty soon for like a sound check. Okay. So yeah, at this point, I can make is active be aware of the bypass state. That can be done. Now, yeah, so I think what I need to do is I need to somehow, oh, here we go, reset process. So I'm already doing a reset, right? So reset on change. Yeah, so I'm already doing this hard note, all notes off when you change. This is like the the basic like protection. And I'm thinking, right, because I think this holds state, like this knows, right, previous enable, right? So it knows that if so if enabled is not the previous one, then call the reset function, right? What was the reset function here that I passed on to this? Oh, in this case, it's just all notes off. That's what it is. So I think what happened was I made a generic one that takes a function. Then I made a less generic one that just does all notes off, just does a reset. Is I would want to have, I guess, maybe a higher level. Maybe I'll use a generic version so that on change, right? If you make a change, yeah, then just do the reset. So I might be able to do this reset on change, but just have a better function for this reset. So the question is there anything special you have to deal with sustain pedal CC? I wonder if there's any overlap in the processing there. I do have code that deals with the pedal, but it's kind of external to this. Like by the time the code goes into this section, just to give you a higher level overview. Yeah, so there should be, here you go. So there's a sustain processor happening. And this sustain processor is actually, that's actually pretty cool. That sustain processor is just like a little plugin that converts pedal messages into regular messages, just adjust the notes, the length and stuff like that. And this already works really well. And yes, it as a sustain pedal processor, when you think about it, it's a little similar. You know what? That might be a very good way to think about this, right? Let me switch to this. So while I'm thinking about this out loud, this is a good idea. So the sustain pedal processor, what it does is that it knows when the sustain is hit or not. If the sustain is hit, it holds messages, right? It adds them together, and it kind of ignores the note off. And then when you leave the sustain, it will bring the note off again. Here, there's another layer to this because I don't want to hold the user's notes forever. Like I don't want to have the user hold a million notes and kind of hold that for him or for her if they didn't explicitly tell me, hey, we want a sustain pedal here. But you think about this, because what we need now is we need something that is kind of like the sustain pedal, but no, but it's not actually true, because it does clear the notes, right? It does, right? The sustain pedal, because what we need a way. Let's see if we can share some of this. We need a way where, let's say I'm pressing notes C, E, G, but I leave some of them. I let go of my keys. The keys that I want to be played back to me really are only the keys that are held or sustained with the sustain pedal. So I don't want any keys from the past come back to me in bypass. Yeah, and it's something that I should be able to do here, right? Like I should be able to do so that, let me think about this. Yeah, I think what I had before made a little bit more sense. Like basically I need to do this thing where I'm adding notes to my stack. Like I'm saying, well, the user play this note, I'm holding on to it. Another thing, I'm holding on to that. Pretty similar to what I had before. But then yeah, then I basically need to bring back those notes somehow. Like I need to, yeah, I'm not sure if I can do that with the sustain pedal. I think sustain pedal is more specific. I think. Yeah, I think let's have a look. So I think I already have something called something like MIDI. Do I still have this? Held notes. Have this thing. And this, I'm not sure I have these lines there. Drive me crazy. Doesn't make sense. Maybe an extra line here or something. Yeah, so I have held notes. And I can process this on the bypass, right? So add nodes to, and nodes often clear, something like that. And I think if I process these, process note. So this just holds a stack of the existing nodes, which is probably what I need, right? And then, so let's call it held nodes. And when I process, I should be able to do is this the correct place? No, not here. Not you. Let's put it in the MIDI processor. MIDI processor, that's where you belong, I believe. Held notes. And MIDI players, and then where do I do this thing again? Oh, it's in the ARP itself. Sorry, I'll put this thing inside of the ARP. So the ARP would have, yeah, it's similar to this reset on change thing. I think it might even be kind of work with that. So, so right here is areas. So this is where I'm choosing what to do. So if I'm active, I'm giving you the output of the ARP, which I'm going to be probably still be processing in bypass, just so that you can go back from bypass and not lose your ARP processing. And then I would let's see. So regardless, where do I have the input? Oh, this one's also interesting. I need to make sure. Yeah, there's stuff here that needs to happen in an accurate way, or maybe this one does not need to. Bypass is block accurate, so I don't need to be sample accurate, at least not for now. I can move it to have more sample accuracy in the future, but I would start with block accuracy. So right here, okay, MIDI should still have, if I understood correctly, it should still have my input at this point. So I should be able to do held notes, process MIDI. This should process the MIDI and keep stack of what's the source being played. And then here I can pass a function for the reset. So this might be my use. I'll use this overload. And the reset function would mean that I would need to have some integration of the pressed buffer. So, okay, so let's do something. Auto reset function equals there might be requirements from the reset function, right? What's required from this? No? Oh, might need to return something. What does it need to do? Process. Here's my function. I don't think it has requirements, right? Oh, just enabled. So in that case, I don't need to put in a buffer. Is that what it is? So I can just do buffer handling without passing the buffer. Okay, so I think the idea is that if I do that, I don't need to pass the buffer, and I would just capture the buffer here and do what I need to do. So when we reset function means that right only at the moment of reset, I can do if is active, do something. Basically, only if I only care about if I'm not active, right? Right, because if I go back from active to not active, then whatever. If I'm go back to active, this should just take over, hopefully. I believe, right? So I'm processing the input here. Output is something else, and then right here, I should be able to do. Let's bring back my nice chill hop music, AI generated music. Okay, so if I'm not active, this thing held notes. Let's see if it already has some of the features that I want. Add notes onto, right? Yes, I think that's correct. Add notes onto. So this is exactly what this was meant to do. Notes onto the oh, I guess what I need to do in this case is I need to do notes, because I need to add these notes on. Yeah, because I need to clear the output. I need to use that buffer. Add notes onto the output. Then do the switch. Might be wrong, but this looks like it makes sense, and we can try this. So just mentioning those joining, I'm working on fixes and updates to our plugin EON-Arp by Modalics. You should try it if you haven't tried it yet. There's a free trial on our website for a few days. It's not very expensive either. It's a very cool arpeggiator. Okay, back into EON. Okay, let's see. I'll close the music here for a second. Okay, so now I connect this to this thing. There we go. Okay, I still have the stuck notes, which I can fix. So this works well. Going back into this works well, but I have. So I still have the stuck notes when we're leaving that mode, I think. Let's see. Yeah, when I go here, it's fine. Yeah, I think I would have a higher note here. Okay. Here we go. Here's my stuck note. Right, I knew this was going to happen. So the stuck note happens right here when I go into bypass. I would still need to... Oh, because you know what? If I'm resetting... Yeah, I think I would also need to reset the I would also need to reset the notes coming out of the ARP, right? Because yeah, I still need some I guess some maybe do I still need to have some two-sided reset here? Maybe this is what I need. Maybe this is I may need to go back to my previous solution, but do it on this scope, on the scope of the ARP. The reason why I think, like for example, you just saw when the ARP generates a note higher than what's in my on my keyboard, then I need a way to mute that, right? And the ARP in the past did that, but I think that I kind of overrode what the ARP did itself. Because I think my previous reset message just said all notes off. Just said, hey, clear this. Now I'm not clearing. I need to specifically, because I in the past I think I wanted to do just notes off and then do note on for the notes that come back. But that I think I had a problem because I saw that some DAWs don't like that. Some DAWs would not like if you give them a note off and on at the same time, they would ignore the order and just give you the note on. Basically gives you a stuck note. Sorry, they would give you the note off and on and off, like if you a muted note. Because the note off would win, like it would be last. And I think this is a problem. So I need another way. One way is to go back to my previous solution of a two-sided stack, where there's a stack of the notes on the ARP side and the stack of the node on the, let's call it clean bypass side. And still, I think I had the problem with like the collision on both of them, right? Where the same nodes would be turned on and off. Let me think. How can I do this? Yeah, because I think what I had before was this another side of held nodes, another element of held nodes, really, and that means that I think I had held nodes. This function is so huge. I had something that said held nodes for the bypass and held nodes to this, and then I needed to do some state management to resolve these double node situation. I guess I can do that. Because I think previously, let me refactor something out here because I want to reuse a function that just happened there. There's inside my held nodes, sorry, my reset on change thing. All nodes off, here it is. So I think this all nodes off element is exactly for that. Like it's exactly for keeping state of what's pressed. So yeah, so I can hold two of these, and I think that's what I used to have in my previous version, something that might manage the state in a neater way. I had this MIDI bypass, something like that. Let's see, what is this thing doing? I think it's kind of like that. So it does all nodes off. I don't think this is used anywhere. I think this is this was just used to try and solve this particular problem. So I don't think I don't mind just changing that. Yeah, because in reality, what I need is a combination of two objects. Let's see if I can just write this in line and see if I can reason about this problem. So this would be something like a struct. I'll call it bypass. This would replace probably the other bypass that was not working as well. So this would hold both of these, but it would hold. It would be something like dry, wet, something like that. And how was I calling reset on change? Like it would be this code, really. Yeah, because I think the idea is that this would take two buffers, like a dry and wet, and kind of make the decision on what to do with each one, I think. So this would be something like a process that would take MIDI buffer, dry buffer, MIDI buffer, wet buffer. Those should probably be const, by the way. And the other should be like the MIDI buffer for the output. No except. Something around that pattern. And I actually think I still would need to hold a buffer here. This would be like my internal buffer. Might be wrong about this. Let's see. And then, so this should do dry process, right? Just process with the dry buffer. So both of these should be processed. Wet, not process with the wet buffer. So this should hold the state for them. And then this should do this. Oh, and also this should be like a, like a bowl active or something. And then here there should be like a function. We'll decide what that thing is in a second. Reset dot process active function, and this is where I would this is where I should have the kind of similar logic, but now it would be I'd have two logics in there, like that's these like double switching, I believe. Let's see. So this is basically my logic. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to, this is interesting because if I yeah, because this function only gets called when a switch. This is really what the idea. And when this switches, I should do it's something like if active. So if I change to active now, I should take the wet buffer and say something like add notes off and clear. So first I should do that. As note off and clear to the target, to the output, really, right? And then the dry should add its note on to the output. This is not perfect, but this would hopefully be better. And basically, do I still have the minimum position thing? Yeah, so this might be 1, just to make sure that there's no collisions, I guess. And then this should be the other way around. Like this should be dry, wet. And when it's finished, this should put the yeah, I think this is really the, oh, and there's also the part about after this is done, right? Because this, would this actually give me, because I actually also need the notes from this buffer, like not just these, not the notes from the switch. I need the actual, yeah, I might actually need to do this before. So before I do this, and then this would actually be a bit complicated because there's some caching issue that could happen as a result. Let's see. This would mean yeah, because when I do the switch, I need to use the caches from before. And then I need to re-add everything that goes back from the correct buffer that's set, like either wet or dry. So when I'm finished with this, I need to mix that buffer back in. And that stuff is not even in this little like function. That all that stuff is, yeah, it's kind of external to this, right? All this stuff is like a mix that happens after I finished do the reset part. which is again this weird. I'm gonna might run into this problem of like MIDI collisions on the first sample, because I still need those MIDI events. So there might be some extra logic. Because basically what I need to do is, if it's active, then I might write everything here into my buffer. So buffer clear. Let's do this thing in buffer, and then if it's active, then buffer swap with. Buffer. I forgot how to do that. Add from, add events, copy. I forgot. Add events. Is that what it is? Okay, add events from the wet buffer. Low sample buffer and the source buffer should be added. The source buffer will then be ignored. Okay. Let's start doing a 0. And I actually need the number of samples. This is interesting. Okay. So I'm going to need to know the number of samples here. How would I know that? I need to pass that, I guess, in samples in the buffer. And delta to add, let's start with 0, which might not be perfect, but this would be add events from, right? The wet buffer. And else take it from the dry buffer. And now that we're all finished, just do the output swap with buffer. And this is generally the logic, but there might be some nuances to this implementation. So where was I in my ARP? So instead of those two, there's going to be bypass, and this would not need to do that. This would not need to do any of that, really. So this should replace all of this. Just bypass process is active. And so wet buffer is output, dry buffer is MIDI, and the active is, this one is first. And in this case, the output is actually the same. Oh no, the output is actually this. This is the output. They happen to be the same one, but it might not be. And then active is active. Number of samples, I do know that. Number of samples. So this is hopefully the encapsulation of this, but I suspect there's going to be quite a few bugs. So I'm going to see what happens now when I do this MIDI bypass. Okay. it's opposite. I have on and off being opposite somewhere. So is active, ARP active. Okay, so I think I did it the opposite. If it's active, yeah, I just reversed dry and wet. So this is dry, wet, right? Yeah, because I'm going back into wet. So this is wet, dry. Right, and then if I'm active, go to wet. I think that one is correct, right? Or maybe I just pass these the opposite way as well. Dry buffer. Oh, this is not the dry. This is the dry. Okay, this explains it. Okay. Okay, good. Oop. Yes. My mouse gets stuck for, I think, some keys I have. Other than the fact that my mouse somehow was stuck. I'm not sure why that happens. It's because I'm pressing something? What's going on here? When I'm pressing the MIDI keyboard, my pop-up window. Here it is. Oh, this looks good. Oh, there's still a bug there, but I'm getting close. I'm getting close. Just what happened with my pop-up menu? Why is my pop-up menu going insane? Is it because of the stream? Something stills my mouse? I don't know what's going on here. This works. But doing it more than once is not working. Doesn't look like. I think I got the stuck notes out of here. It goes back so nice. But I should hear a bypass. I should hear this. I should hear this chord returning, and I get it sometimes. I have a feeling it's because of the note off and on the same sample thingy. So I can probably do that. I can probably fix that. I hope. So this thing was called bypass, and what I'm just going to make this bypass instead of the other bypass that was in my library, because that old bypass is probably not needed. I think this is going to be the good bypass, the bypass to rule them all, as they say. Why do I clear the output here? That makes no sense. I don't need to do that. Yeah, this was very silly. I just need to clear the buffer. I think that led to one of the bugs that I just had. Let's try this again. Oh, this won't recognize it. I need to call it MIDI bypass. Okay, build failed, very random. MIDI bypass. It's not MIDI bypass. Maybe there's some include that's missing here. Where's this MIDI bypass thing? Modules, audio, MIDI, utilities. MIDI bypass, right? That's not that? That's not it? I think that's it. That's weird. Okay. Okay, so it still does not give me. Yeah, so it looks like I'm not getting my notes back, or some of the time I am getting them. I'm feeling like this is because of let's bring my log back. This would be fun. I suspect that this is because of let's do this MIDI log. I think this is because I have the collisions of the note on and off at the same time. Because when note on and off are coming at the same time, I think that it's possible that the order is not really respected by my synth or something, and I think I would need to find a solution for this. Ooh, there's a snuck note from the synth, from the ARP. All right, I'm going to get ready to set up Paul. I will be back in about an hour with Paul Carter from Wave Sequencer, Hyperion synth. He makes an amazing modular synth, and he will talk about software making and synth making and coding, and hopefully we'll enjoy this. So I'll be back soon with Paul, and maybe Or will join us by then, and we're gonna have a party. So stay tuned. Maybe check out what's going on in an hour or so.